Now, I want to talk to you here seriously for a moment. Let me be clear. There's only one way to cultivate that sense of revolutionary obligation that we so crave in your own heart. And that's to like this video and to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to smash that like button. Smash that don't like button to forget. Don't like smash? Button to forget that. Like to forget that button? Don't smash. Don't like the button? Forget that smash. Forget to like that don't smash button.
Welcome, comrades, to the art of cinema. This is a mandatory re-education session of the People's Republic of F. Let us hasten final victory through a revolutionary ideological offensive. We're monitoring your viewing and we know if you're not watching. I am Colonel T, Minister of Propaganda, and with me, as always, is our glorious leader, General Secretary F, the eternal leader of our revolution, the mastermind of the revolution.
Yeah, glad to be here, T.
Our film today strikes close to the heart, sir. It's called Children of the Revolution. At the start of Children of the Revolution, we meet Judy Davis. Judy Davis is an Australian communist. Judy Davis is an agitator, sir. She's a firebrand, an activist, a revolutionary. She's truly committed. The revolution is all she cares about. We meet Judy Davis in Australia in the early 1950s. She organizes marches and protests for the Australian communist movement, and her hero is Joseph Stalin. She says, Stalin is all of us. Stalin is our leader. It's through him that we all get to achieve our goals.
Ah, excellent. You know, a movie needs a good hook right at the start to get us invested. So as we meet Judy Davis, our hearts overflow with beautiful feelings of revolutionary obligation and comradely love. Judy Davis joins her life to the life of the masses and finds the value of her life and the key to victory in sharing the same destiny with the masses. But I don't really see Judy Davis herself as Australia's glorious leader. She's more of a John the Baptist character, I'd say. Who will be the glorious leader she has promised for the Australians?
We meet two men at the start of the film who are interested in Judy Davis. First, there's Geoffrey Rush. He's in love with Judy Davis, and he's joined the Australian Communist Party so he can spend time with her. He doesn't really believe in the revolution, however. He tells Judy Davis what she wants to hear, tells her he's a believer.
You know, Judy Davis might be the first character in these movies that we've discussed who doesn't need extensive re-education. But this Geoffrey Rush guy, yeah, he clearly does. Our enemies are formidable, and our struggle is arduous.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'd like to make a suggestion to Judy Davis and the Australians. They should get the Bee Gees to lead their glorious revolution. I mean, the Bee Gees are from Australia, near Brisbane. It's perfect. Barry Gibb could be the general secretary, and Robin the minister of propaganda, and Maurice can head up the secret police or the army.
Absolutely, sir. They've got the popularity, the name recognition, I think, to organize a movement.
Yeah. Now, Andy Gibb, he had spoken out vocally, fervently against revolutionary ideas. And as far as we know, we lost track of him, but he must have moved to some other country.
Serves him right. Then there's Sam Neill, who's a Soviet spy, a double agent stationed in Australia. Sam Neill, like Geoffrey Rush, is love-struck over Judy Davis. He's infiltrated Australia's Security and Intelligence Service. Sam Neill monitors Judy Davis's communist activism. Judy Davis writes letters to Stalin on a weekly basis, and it turns out Sam Neill has been intercepting these letters, reading them before they go to Russia.
So Judy Davis writes to Stalin. While I appreciate her devotion, Stalin is Russia's glorious leader, not Australia's. I mean, unless there's some sort of military conquest in the works. But once again, Judy Davis needs to explain the revolution to the Bee Gees and to get them to lead Australia's glorious revolution. She's just got to get the Bee Gees to stop singing about how it's disco and start singing about how they need to liberate Australia's workers at all costs, even if their bones are broken and their bodies are ripped apart.
Even in that case, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Stalin takes an interest in Judy Davis once he sees a photo of her in one of her letters. He invites her to Moscow so he can put the moves on her. So Judy Davis travels all the way from Australia to Moscow. She attends party conferences and rallies. She's Stalin's guest of honor for dinner at the Kremlin. There's lots of vodka. They sing American songs. They sing some Sinatra. And after dinner, they watch an American film, and Stalin finishes putting the moves on Judy Davis.
This ought to encourage all the aspiring glorious leaders out there. Not only will you liberate your country, not only will you fuse your party together with the masses of the people to constitute a force to build a glorious nation at breakneck speed, but you're also going to get a lot of groupies.
Stalin is an old man in Children of the Revolution, however, so to our surprise, and to the heartbreak of all those Stalin so gloriously led, the exertion of putting the moves on Judy Davis is too much for him, and Stalin dies there in his bed.
I'm sorry, I just have to mention that this is the danger of doing the moves. They're actually called the F moves, which I invented. Stalin tried to put the moves on. He ended up dying. His technique was not good. As not very many people can do the moves. And seriously, if you're going to try the moves, Stalin, you really have to just...
Got to be in shape for the move.
And I am the icon of in-shapedness.
Of fortitude.
All other fitness is fraudulency. The F moves include acting like you're yawning and stretching, but then just leaving your arm around the girl. That's a classic F move.
That's actually what Stalin does in this movie.
Is that? Well, yeah, he stole my moves. You hear that, Stalin? Quit stealing my moves.
Judy Davis finds Sam Neill to explain what's happened. He comforts her, they get close, and then they do the deed as well. When Stalin dies in this movie, everyone there at the Kremlin is overjoyed. They open up champagne and toast his passing. They dance. They hug each other. These guys include Khrushchev. It's hard to believe, sir.
Stalin gets a lot of credit as a glorious leader. A lot of people look at Stalin and they think to themselves, Stalin? That's a first ballot Hall of Fame glorious leader right there. But if you're doing the revolution the right way, your secret police should long since have arrested anyone who would have ended up celebrating your death. These people should long since have been digging ditches at the Arctic labor camps. What do you think the secret police are there for, Soviets? If you're not purging counter-revolutionaries from your glorious nation, it's like playing football without a defense.
That's tough but fair, sir. When Judy Davis gets back to Australia, she realizes she's pregnant. She's carrying either Stalin's love child or Sam Neill's. So she goes back to Geoffrey Rush and offers him the job, as she puts it, of marrying her and raising her child. The soundtrack of the film is really great. At moments when a lesser film would use a love song, for example when Geoffrey Rush and Judy Davis embrace or get married, Children of the Revolution uses Russian communist hymns. They get married and give birth to a boy. We see a montage of Judy Davis reading her son a biography of Stalin and taking him to protests. She's raising her son in Stalin's image, sir, and she names her son Joe. Once Joe is a young man, maybe 18 or 20, he's played by an actor named Richard Roxburgh. It's now the late 1960s, and the young people hold demonstrations to protest Australia's involvement in Vietnam. Roxburgh has grown up to be apolitical, non-ideological, but then he gets drafted to fight in the Australian Army in Vietnam, so he conscientiously objects and gets sentenced to prison for it. Rachel Griffiths is Richard Roxburgh's love interest. She's an Australian police officer. She tells Richard Roxburgh she'll wait for him while he's in prison. But Roxburgh is worried she won't be faithful, so he asks Sam Neill to monitor her. Sam Neill being a spy and all, it's an ideal task for him, but he ends up shacking up with Rachel Griffiths while he's supposed to be spying on her to make sure she doesn't cheat on Richard Roxburgh. So that's complicated enough on its own, but yet another wrench gets thrown into the Sam Neill machine. It turns out, when Sam Neill had been working for Stalin to fight counter-revolutionaries in the Soviet Union, it was him, Sam Neill, who killed Rachel Griffiths' grandparents.
That may be true, but Sam Neill was also an outstanding idiotheoretician, a preeminent leader, and a benevolent father of the people who, with far-sighted wisdom, uncommon leadership ability, informidable willpower, and an ardent love for the people, devoted his whole life to strengthening and developing the USSR and to the happiness of the Soviet people.
While Richard Roxburgh is in prison, his cellmate tells him that Stalin killed millions of people. Roxburgh makes up his mind to learn the truth about Stalin, who is also F. Murray Abraham, who is also Salieri, who assassinated Mozart, and he's in that Grand Budapest Hotel movie. Roxburgh reads every book in the prison library on communism, the Soviet Union, and recent history. The next time Judy Davis visits him in prison, Richard Roxburgh confronts her about Stalin's genocide. They get into a heated argument over it, and Judy Davis blurts out, "What if I told you Stalin was your father?" She tries to walk it back, but the cat's out of the bag now. Richard Roxburgh starts to come unwound now that he knows he's Stalin's son. He has an identity crisis, and he starts to lose it. But then his career takes an unexpected turn. Once he gets out of jail, he's invited to speak at a meeting of the Police Officers Association on the basis of good deeds he did while he was incarcerated. He's such an effective speaker, and he's so popular with the policemen, that the Police Officers Association ends up hiring him as their representative. Richard Roxburgh becomes a union boss. He organizes strikes and negotiates better pay and working conditions for the cops. There's a falling out between him and Judy Davis over this, however, sir.
Now, of course there is. The police force of a capitalist imperialist regime are the instrument of oppression of the workers. As a farmer wields his plow to till the soil for his crops, so too does the imperialist wield the police force to cultivate exploitation of the people. It's not like the Glorious Revolution, where the police are a chisel we use to sculpt society into a beautiful vision of the PRF.
You wouldn't think that the head of the police union had any glorious leadership in his future, sir, but, in fact, that's the direction that Richard Roxburgh starts heading. As the head of the police union, Roxburgh becomes an autocrat. He rules over the police by fear. None of them dare to question his authority. He looks just like Stalin. He talks to people the way Stalin did, and his office at the police union starts to look just like Stalin's lair.
Oh, I see. So Children of the Revolution is a Richard Roxburgh as glorious leader movie? Okay. Well, I don't want to spoil this for anyone, but I hope the PRF workers and soldiers can see the flaw in this fraudulent plan.
Roxburgh's campaigns for reform move into politics. He starts to take corrupt politicians down. He gains public support. He begins to accumulate more and more power to the point that he can leverage his power over and against the state. By 1991, Richard Roxburgh has Australia on the brink of civil war.
Now, that's the right playbook. I'll give the Australian revolutionaries that much. The strife, chaos, the public unrest. It reminds me of when I came to power. But there's a missing ingredient here, people. I don't see Richard Roxburgh pulling this off.
As always, your analysis is accurate, sir, because it's at this point Judy Davis realizes she has to stop her son. She sees him starting to become dangerous, drunk on the power he's acquired. So Judy Davis tells the press that Richard Roxburgh is, in fact, Stalin's son. She shows them photographs taken during her night with Stalin, photographs of her dancing with Stalin, embracing him. This undoes Roxburgh's public support. Judy Davis has sabotaged his popularity with the Australian people. His career as an up-and-coming glorious leader is over.
Well, I can't say I'm surprised. It's not just anyone who can be a glorious leader, you know? You're not going to be able to pull it off if you're not, or if you don't have, basically if you're not me. So in the People's Republic of F, I alone am the guarantee of the people's unification. Only I can be the gardener of human happiness. In Australia, I think the Bee Gees could have pulled it off. You know, I actually produced the soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever. I don't know if you knew that.
Of course you did, sir.
Yeah, because they had some pretty decent songs. I could see the talent there, but it was missing something. So I said, just put a dance beat to it and sing like this. And they did, and that funded the revolution, the record, the sales of that record.
Right, because when they had that New York mining accident 1941 song, they basically sounded like the Beatles.
Yeah, and which is a good sound, if you're the Beatles. But let the Beatles be the Beatles, and you guys sing like women to a dance beat, and it'll be good. And I was right.
Which shows the women.
You can tell by the way I use my welcome lady. Because ladies' men talk like that.
Yeah, that's how the women know.
Yeah,
that he's a ladies' man.
Yeah.
But as we've observed, that sort of clout, that sort of name recognition, I agree, sir. I believe they could have successfully led an Australian revolution as Richard Roxburgh was unable to.
Yes.
This has been The Art of Cinema, with our glorious leader, General Secretary F. Let us maintain vigilance against the ever-looming threat of an American invasion. You are required to report any non-participation or dissent amongst your comrades. Don't forget to tune in to The Art of Cinema again next time for further discussion of films from the 1990s in your next mandatory re-education session.